Yo, meatball, just in time. We return to caw.
Whew, mamma mia.
What time is it? You see, it's,
Time!
Does anyone really truly know? Of course they don't. Nobody knows anything. You and I don't even know each other. We're like strangers. Sure, I've adjusted all the game's settings to your exact specifications, but who hasn't? It's just what I do, like a day job. And now, the job is over. There's no more information for me to gather. I've collected all the data on you, and I can. And I still don't really know you. And you don't know me. And neither of us know what time it is. I guess some settings are just unsettable. But if I'm being totally honest, the clock doesn't do anything in this game anyways. You won't have me here when the game starts next time, but that's okay. Video games are meant to be played alone. You like being alone, don't you? That's maybe the only information I really learned about you. Well, it's time for me to leave. There's still one more setting that we need to adjust, but it may take a little time before I'm ready for that. So I'll take it for the 38 months, getting jobs to spin a little bit to start things off. It's not really in my job description, but that's okay. Perhaps you'll see me again, if you can find me. Talk soon. Stanley Parable, except it's the second one, apparently. I'm glad the title screen didn't change for me shutting down the game. Well, let's go ahead and hop right in then. The end is never the end, is never the end.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company
There's
in
those
Figurine
balloons!
where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons.
Why did everything for the 13 months?
Orders
Jobs
came
fit a
to
little
him
bit
through
more.
a monitor on his desk, telling
I'm just
him
gonna
what
let the intro
buttons to
play,
push,
see if they say
how
anything
long to
different.
push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions.
Those damn
or
balloons!
or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Welcome back is the achievement I just got.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Can I
Stanley
take a balloon?
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I still can't jump. It looks to be mostly... Oh, right, this game has that weird issue. Excuse me a second. Controls. Oh, hey, ship's gonna magically crouch now. Nice bug! Bucket. It's here now. On a podium.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Wonder if they Or do they care about me doing the whole door clicking thing while having a bucket in my hands?
Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement?
Okay,
Click the
no.
door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
I got a companion bucket.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever.
Oh,
Perhaps his
good.
boss's
The dialogue's
office
all
was where he'd
entirely
find
different now.
answers.
Who moved my desk? Well, this all looks normal. The broom closet's open again!
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons.
Oh,
This is
how
worse
much?
than I had imagined.
How about you start listing them, huh?
Now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends, that your relationship is purely superficial and convenient, that your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner. Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it. Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet.
I got a
with all
sticker!
your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
Can I have another one?
All right, I've got a second sticker back
Hell
here,
yeah!
and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see, I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker.
Wait,
and
why
say
is the
to
second
yourself,
sticker applied below the first
it's a
sticker?
bucket.
That's not how stickers
There
work.
really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
The narrator just defied the laws of physics. I'm not gonna get into how that sticker is contorting way too
You know what?
tightly.
I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Okay, goodbye! I got a couple of stickers from my bucket. It's now a very personalized bucket. Yeah, he seems to be gone. We have a moment of brevity, a moment of peace. think he's actually gone. Well, I suppose I should probably get moving on. We managed to acquire a couple of stickers. Okay, he's not even commenting me, but I'm not be going back in, so... Very well, I can leave the fluorescent hum for now.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
What about the executive bathroom, though? Oh, shit!
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
I got the feeling money's for stealing, but not yours, of course. So that's a lovely... that's a lovely purse. The slogan on the wall has changed. We're gonna see what the bucket thinks of elevator music. Wait, why am I not allowed to go into the elevator section? Disappointing! Why is it locked? I just wanted to listen to some elevator music. God.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him, always. The bucket would. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Oh, there's one here, too.
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Was there anything in the back? Still just blackness back here. Still just a corner I can go huddle in.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket.
Bucket.
Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Are we sure on that?
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
I mean, Meatball could wear the bucket as a helmet, as a hat.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock.
Pirate!
Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Pirate!
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do? or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world.
Sure.
They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Oh my god. Yeah!
But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
Silly birds. Oh, I mean, those definitely some silly birds.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind
look at that
controls
silly
were only
bird.
a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the
Whoa,
metal
man.
genius in his hands.
Look
The
at
one
that.
who had pointed him towards
Look at the
this
spikes on that one.
incredible Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Oh, look at the nose on that one. I wasn't dying. Goodbye.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Figurine Finders Committee meeting today. What? Come on,
Stanley
bucket.
lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
We're gonna go to the meeting room.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Oh, it's a little different in here all of a sudden. There will be a reward for finding the ball. Oh, it's our mission stats. Lies! Stop kidding yourselves. I want them so much. I want to go home. There will be cleaning of this wall required. Who are you? Places to search. A large room, lots of boxes. Okay. Stairs. Something to do with stairs. Somewhere with both red and blue. Okay. Okay, I think I know most of these. Lol, looks like 427. Shut up! This is some kind of game? There must be a point to this. Retrieve Chris's remains from warehouse floor. Chris, no! Chris! Well, he managed to escape the broom closet, only to die upon the warehouse floor. No! We could have saved the boy! There's the toilet one. Okay, that was behind the boss's office. So I guess there's one at the bottom of the stairs. Seems to be like the warehouse area. I know where this is, I just had to go to it. Trust the completionist instinct. Why does that look like it's written in blood? Why wouldn't they just tell us something will happen? This investigation, this room, they feel pointless, to be honest. We heard spinning figurines. What do they want? Our data? Stock options? Money? Should we make them employees? Maybe? Interns? Yes! Why do they kind of look like 427? Why floating magic? Dreams? Magnets? That one's underlined for emphasis. Training exercise on magnetism? Our quarterly success? Artist rendering. How many are there? Some. Can we sell them? Obviously. More money if sold together. Do we need contracts for them? NDA. Someone in cargo room. Employee 41 building a bridge. Maybe we are the collectibles. Oh my god, look at that face! Look at that face! Oh god! To whom it may concern, I managed to pick up sounds unusual to our regular office ambience or local audio sources, using an array of cardioid microphones, also known as directional mic, a microphone which picks up sound from a particular area. Analysis of the recordings allowed me to triangulate the source of the strange noises. Data shows that in all likelihood it's coming from a dark area behind a very warm place. I also picked up what looks to be reverberance off a porcelain surface. Anyone have any idea on this? Wouldn't you like to know? How we can find them, bottom text. Small floating objects have appeared across the office. We have to synergize our resources to ensure their retrieval. There are many questions. There was no memo from management. I can tell you've spotted one. What makes them float in the air? Who took these pictures of them? Bigleys are hard to find. All clues provided by employee 416. We can do it. Red room? God, it's gotten crazy in there.
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers.
How do you
If
only
I
have
did,
two?
You can guarantee we'd be in here for hours. But alas, no stickers.
Oh, come on, you gotta have one more.
Oh yeah,
Fine.
looking good.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to
So
the
is there-
boss's office.
Is there one down here then? Oh, I hear it.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
I kind of like Figlies.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps.
Someone else's bucket?
How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre
The bucket is gone!
Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed,
The bucket is gone!
now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd.
1,
Now
2,
he felt
3,
himself floating
4.
off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it.
1,
Far off in the
2,
distance
3,
now, he
4.
heard, calling to him. Stanley! Stanley, it's me! The bucket! Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them
1, 2,
were his.
3,
None
4.
of them were
Oh
his
God,
special
buckets!
bucket.
Buckets every. Oh God, look at all the buckets!
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his
Buckets,
old
buckets,
friend.
buckets,
It was
buckets,
the only way
buckets,
to truly
buckets,
restore
buckets,
his sanity.
buckets.
And then
Buckets,
suddenly,
buckets, buckets!
he was dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out. This is the story of a woman named Mariela. Mariela woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on
So
this
she's a
particular
bucket
day,
now.
her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad.
She's
Ranting
got a
and
bucket
raving
now.
about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariela thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
She backflipped all the way to work. Jesus! Must be kind of hard to
All
backflip
of
with
his
a bucket,
co-workers
though.
were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had... The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clung the bucket to his cheek. Could his co-workers really all be gone? Yes, whispered the bucket into Stanley's ear. We've done it. We've escaped from that dull office and that pesky narrator. At last, out here in the white void, we are alone. Now, and for the first time, I can reveal to you my true self. The bucket began to tell Stanley of its life and its history, of the countless wars it witnessed, desecrating the land and lives of untold numbers of innocent humans, and the bucket's own complicity therein, of sadness and regret, and the many years it spent dwelling on the actions it might have taken to curb the madness and the decay, if only it had been stronger, of hope and redemption, and its crusade to uplift the stock of life for the common man, to manifest justice where none existed, and the bittersweet reality of time, to see one's dreams and wishes met halfway, meted out in parcels like charity, and abandoned as soon as the warm glow of inspiration begins to dim. The opportunities to do so much more, There was so much it could have done, perhaps, the bucket wondered to itself. Perhaps if it had seen its own darkness with a clearer perception. This was way too much for Stanley.
What are you talking about?
He screamed.
You're a bucket!
To this, the bucket furrowed its brow.
No,
Said the bucket.
not since the evil wizard Gambhorata first ensnared me in his machinations as payback for the sacred amulet I stole from his treasured vaults. I
Oh my
was
God.
young back then and could not conceive the ramifications of... No!
Stanley screamed even louder this time.
This is stupid! You are a bucket!
Stanley's becoming a
This is
crow of
so
some kind.
Stupid! Why are we even doing this?
As Stanley screamed and screamed and screamed, the bucket revealed its true form, transforming into a mighty beast of untold power, its fangs glistening like... My God, Stanley, you did it. You saved us from the bucket.
Bucket,
Thank God you already had all 12
no!
emblems of sages and knew the incantations to summon their true power. Otherwise, we would have easily been overwhelmed by the bucket's power. I'm speechless. You've demonstrated such bravery here today. Come, let's restart the game, and we'll agree to never again go trifling with this bucket, nor the dark magic cast away in sleep.
No!
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
Have a seat. Right here.
Truly, being here with the bucket was a grand adventure. Stanley reflected on all they'd been through together. First, walking through the door on the right, then walking to the lounge, then arriving at the lounge. What a thrilling journey the bucket had inspired.
Their narrator's really trying his best here.
Perhaps this was where the bucket felt most truly at home, here in the employee lounge. Perhaps it's the only place a bucket can even feel at home.
Just having a seat, relaxing, seeing how things are going.
Stanley decided to just give the bucket absolutely as much time as it needed to be in the lounge. Clearly, the bucket and the employee lounge shared a special connection.
Fresh meat.
Yo, me ball. You getting jealous of the sidekick status being taken over by a bucket?
But finally, the bucket was done being in the lounge, and they took the first open door on their left to get back to business.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Oh, there it is! They did construct a bridge! Alright, let me go get that. Yoink!
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler Anlarines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
He really is torn on what to call these things, huh? Well, I guess I had to go this way now. Well, this place is a little bit different. Where's the ominous, like, broken tape chanting? Where's the tapes?
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there?
Well, that happened.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
What is wrong with this bucket? What is wrong with you?
He'd never be alone again. Not truly alone. Not with the bucket around.
The bucket is definitely... There's definitely something very wrong with the bucket, yes.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be. Truly, being here with the bucket was a
Okay, it's
grand
just the same
adventure.
dialogue.
No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him.
It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Danger. Danger everywhere.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign
No
right there that
buckets!
says, "No buckets past this point." Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here?
I was curious.
What if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket?
I mean...
I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Okay, sure.
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios,
A
and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
No.
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Oh, screw you, game.
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
No.
Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
What the crap? They all look the same.
Is this a bucket?
Sure.
Correct. This is a bucket.
Wait, can you get this wrong or not? That's a
Item 4.
tractor.
Is this a bucket?
No.
Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you.
Shut
Thank you
up!
for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one.
It's another
Is this a
tractor.
bucket?
Okay, he's always really good at pulling fast ones, so yes.
Correct. This is a bucket.
God.
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
No.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
No. For sakes.
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. Should be around here somewhere.
Is nothingness a bucket? Nah.
Yes. Thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless...
Oh God, here he goes!
Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket?
How am
What
I the
isn't a
voice of
bucket?
reason
Mere moments
here?
ago, I could answer these questions with confidence, and yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was.
Wait, it's not even letting me press any other button now!
I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go.
The buckets have been
What
removed.
happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's still get
Please.
some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows?
Wait,
what
can
that
you get those
information might
wrong?
do to
I
a
just
person.
assumed any
All right,
answer
here we
worked.
go.
Because it was just so nonsensical. Oh, lucky guess.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
The hell's going on out there?
Too easy for me.
Yeah, apparently I know what a bucket is. I'm so curious what the hell's going on. Because this hallway wasn't making this sound before. But I can't see anything out there. We could go back and get all the questions wrong just for the lulz. Why not? Let's
Good
go.
old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was it... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Trying to straight run. I'm
Stanley
trying so
put the
hard.
ball on his neck to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket... No, stop! Look there on the wall, you see? There's a sign right there. It says, "No buckets past this point." Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless... What if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior.
This is a place to end up.
If that's true, well, my goodness. I think we have to do
How
something
did I manage
about
to get
it.
myself in
This
here?
misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't.
Now I
a
can get
bucket.
out, but
Please, step in here for a minute.
it's just so weird the collision happens to work out in such a way that you could just get to end up inside the ladder. Weird. Alright, let's answer the opposite on all these.
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Christ.
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Oh no! Not the stepladder argument!
Item 3. Is this a bucket?
No!
Incorrect. This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket?
Yes!
Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor. It's an enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely incredible. Let's just move on to the next one. Is this a bucket?
No!
Incorrect. This is a bucket. Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Yes!
Trick question. Both. Gotcha. Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket?
Yes!
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence, and yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry, but I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay. Here we go.
And everything's gone again.
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea.
What if this is just a joke on what
Except me.
the engine's
I'm not a
objects are
bucket
called?
after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is
Although
wonderful.
that probably made more sense
We're
when they
not
were
buckets.
specifically using hammer
Yes,
instead
I
of
actually feel much more
Unity.
at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that.
I'd be
Who knows
very
what that
curious to
information
see
might do to a
how many
person.
times the
All
word
right,
bucket
here we
is
go.
said across all the unique voice lines. Because seriously, we've got like another entire game's worth of bucket dialogue. Anyways, I need to go
All
without
of
the
his
bucket because I
co-workers
need to go
were
get
gone.
that last
What
figurine,
could it
okay?
mean?
Okay.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
The hallway's a little bit different. Wait, what's going on? Why is it the blue hallway this time?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first time understood true happiness. Then the feeling went away, and he felt sad again. Then it came back, and lingered for a minute or two. Now it's only half there, just a kind of, tingle. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing in your trust in someone
We had to
else
leave the
is
bucket
difficult,
behind because we
but
can't get to the
fact
red and
is
blue
that
doors with the
story
bucket.
has been about nothing but you all this time.
What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look,
And there it is. The last...
Yeah!
Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here, and now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
World's best co-worker.
now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley?
You're tearing me
I
apart,
wanted to
Stanley!
stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you. What do we want? What are we looking for?
Oh, it's this too.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment.
Begin the game again! We already did that one. Ah! That's a cardboard cutout that looks like the hallway. It's not even the actual.
Stanley, I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines, those figglers. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone?
The memory
I would love nothing
zone!
more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
I sneak in the back somehow. Doesn't look that way. And I wanted to go look around the back. I mean, I can go hide around back here, I guess. Fine. We'll go to the memory zone. Zone, sweet zone. I guess we're going down to the basement this time. Oh my goodness.
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley.
Seven out of 6.
And here was a second Stanlerine. You found this one all on your own, just by poking around in the boss's bathroom. You did that, Stanley.
I sure did!
Back then, I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways.
So I'm on top of the plant! No, you can get up pretty high because of this. Can I get on top of the mirror? No, but I can climb around on the sink and the towel rack.
Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your 3rd mini Stan? Can you remember?
It was this one!
Hey, that's exactly right. It was here, behind the boss's office. It was the 3rd one. You picked it up, and then after that, you had 3 of them. I'm glad these moments are so crystal clear in your memory.
I mean, it just
shouldn't
happened
be
a few minutes
surprised.
ago!
After all, science tells us that it's impossible to forget your 3rd time doing anything. Let's see, what came next? Oh yes, we found a Figley in this pink room. Oh, well, I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here
what?
in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
I mean, it's a nice room, but I don't recall this at all. This isn't right. Narrator, do you want to explain the pink room? I mean, I feel oddly comfortable. I mean, I'm gonna argue with the memory zone. I don't trust it.
This was the 5th mini Stan, and this one was really something special.
Okay, there are
It was
invisible
in
walls.
the warehouse.
I was just double checking.
I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy.
What? Oh no! It's Windows Movie Maker! Welcome back to 2006, 2007 YouTube! Oh man, it's got the crusty video quality! I have the clip arts! Old ass YouTube! Yeah, the only thing it's missing is unregistered hypercam too.
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
That sounds about right. Most of that was probably just searching for the right clip arts.
And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here by the red and blue doors. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a Figley and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected.
So it's the one
It
under
was
the
a
stairs
moment
he forgot.
Unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like.
Okay, I was wondering which one he forgot. I had to think about it for a second. He forgot the one under the stairs. That's what the pink room became. You're in the present. Nice crusty water cooler.
And then there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future.
Welcome to the void!
No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards.
What?
We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels. Okay, yes, the room with the red and blue doors. I remember
back.
this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going. I want more.
He wants more. He's addicted to it. Ah! Ah! I broke it! I broke it! I don't think that was supposed to happen. What did I do? Oh no, I broke it. I don't know. It screwed up the loading zone. And the next thing I knew, I was just in a void. Oh man, I hope there's not anything for actually getting to all those on the way back out. Okay, we're going back.
Stanley, I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines, those figglers. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story.
I'm getting called out. At least they're aware of it.
I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just
I
one
was
more time.
walking in too much of a zigzag. Oh no! I like how there's only a couple of bugs in this game, and I managed to find them both. Christ, not again! Not again! How do I keep finding the bugs? Alright, from the top!
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the
All
screen,
right,
but how
try
could
to
we know
resist
that-
going like this.
We were so innocent. We'll never be like that
Oh,
again,
they're
Stanley.
gone. Oh, this is gonna be so weird. Hey, at least I get an opportunity to try and go down the wrong path at one point.
And here was a second Stanlerine. You found this one all on your own, just by poking around in the boss's bathroom. You did that, Stanley. I'll be honest. Back then, I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways. Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini stand? Can you remember?
So what happens if I go down the wrong way?
No. Under the stairs was the 4th place you found a Figanley, not the 3rd. Well, I guess perhaps I shouldn't be surprised. Memories like these are so precious and so cherished that they all just sort of blend together, don't they? You know what? If under the stairs feels like the 3rd place you found a collectible, then who am I to go making judgments?
I got an extra figurine out of it!
Oh yes, we found a Figly in this pink room. Oh, well, I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
I'll try not to break the game again! I'm sorry! I didn't mean to! But this does mean we're gonna see the video again.
This was the 5th mini-stand, and this one was really something special. It was in the warehouse. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy.
Here we go again! Best boy!
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
I'm sorry, game!
Then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here by the red and blue doors. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others.
I wonder what the crap I did!
Say how the mind
I can
works.
only imagine what's
All
going
I
on
know
in the
is that
background
this
that
is the
caused me to
moment
fall
where
into
you
the
picked up a
void.
Figly and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like. And then there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, memory zone. No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels.
Was that one dark line there
Okay,
before?
yes, the room with the red and blue doors. I remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one
Okay.
is the most distinct and clear
Just
in my
hold
mind. Let's
W.
keep going. I
Do
want more.
not zigzag.
And here's where I made that video. Don't you remember the video we watched?
Oh my god!
Yes, I love that video. Still don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good room, though. A solid room.
And I do like it. It's got nice architecture and the color's beautiful.
These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have muted the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
Can I go across the hall and pick up the other one again? I can't. Wait, does that mean I'm gonna have one more figurine than I'm supposed to?
This was our second Figly. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going. This is it. The very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the
19 out of
Oh,
6!
I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this?
Can I collect the big one? Oh, hey, it's the jump circle again.
Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then. But time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now. Look how much fun the past is. I want more. More memories.
Where are we going?
Oh, yes. The two doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one. And before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember.
You can't remember.
Yes, I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy. And I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
I mean, it's both? Question mark? Both? Question mark? Alright, well that was the memory zone again.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be perfectly fine with him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
No, we're going this way this time. I have more collectibles than I'm supposed to.
Oh, good, Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
What the hell?
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the adventure line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Can I go to the room closet first, though? Yeah! It really is just copy and paste, and here it is again. I'm somewhat concerned by all the loose wood around this thing.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
Oh shit!
Now this is what the Stanley Parable
Hey, I
is all
wasn't
about.
done!
Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if
Content?
we want to do
Hey,
that,
Tracker
we're
Track,
going to
content!
have to give something up.
But where's the music? It's not the same without the music. Where's my epic adventure music? God, I'm gonna have to do it myself, aren't I?
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
The fucking destroyer!
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable.
No!
It also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley.
You will not
Say
have my
goodbye
bucket!
to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket.
No!
Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets
She
is
won't
so
hold!
densely loaded
She's
with
breaking
complexity
up!
and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Oh god! Well, we're dead again.
Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
The end is never the end.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
Bit of a different intro than normal.
A good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the...
I want to see what's over on this path some more.
Room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Alright, Bucket,
Stanley
what is
did
it?
not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone and it will...
Whoa, hold on. Why did you unplug the phone? Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was joking. Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk. It was a joke.
Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket.
Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I mess up the joke? Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it. But there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is.
Oh, no!
Let's take a look.
Oh, this is gonna be bad.
What is comedic timing? What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is...
Alright, sit back,
yes.
people. We have some
Let's
education
dive
to take
deeper.
in.
If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing. To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh,
Oh
and
my
then
god.
spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor. Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny." Let's practice screaming, "I'm Dunny with the funny" now.
No.
Good. This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long and should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter and even tripled over in laughter in no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, we're each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invaders who threaten our very existence, and to very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause, just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme.
What the fuck?
Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well, no matter. I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back.
Oh God, here we go. Oh, they put walls on the lift this time, so I can't escape. No, not again! Why is there still something I can do? Hang on, I want to try something real quick.
Wowzer, you the best.
Yes. Too easy. Piece of cake.
Okay, I was trying to like find the perfect bloom effect to look like what the bucket looks like, but I couldn't find anything, so pardon the brief pause on that one. I couldn't find a good bloom effect that worked. Alright. From the top!
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps the embrace of an old friend, a weathered companionship that stands the test of time. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest, and this was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this no? Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here.
Now you guys
Go
get to
into this
enjoy
dark
this
room over
comedic
here.
timing video one
Stanley
more
once
time.
again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the phone.
Whoa, hold on.
All
Why
right.
did you unplug
I'm
the
gonna go
phone?
back there for a minute.
Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was joking. Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk. It was a joke. Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket. Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I mess up the joke? Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it. But there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a look.
What is comedic timing? What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90
Just
seconds?
laying down with my
Thankfully,
tablet
the
at this
answer
point.
to all of these questions is yes. Let's dive deeper. If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing. To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor. Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny." Let's practice screaming, "I'm Dunny with the funny"
consequences
now.
of my actions cannot be understated.
Good. This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long and should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter and even tripled over in laughter in no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, we're each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invader who threaten our very existence, and to very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause, just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme. Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well, no matter. I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back.
Whoop. All right, damn it, almost there.
I can feel it. This time, I'm really going to nail the delivery. You'll be in stitches. A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we had the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows where we'd be right now. Well, I wouldn't be the king of comedy, that's for sure.
What happened?
The bucket spoke to
I walked through
Stanley.
one of these small gaps
The
again.
bucket spoke. The bucket spoke. Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to overthink things.
So I had to watch an instructional video a second time, so I decided to go lay down and check my Discord messages instead.
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Wait, what if I actually go left this time?
No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone. Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this is all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your fault, Stanley. I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from now on. All because you couldn't watch a simple video and take
I didn't watch the video. I was laying down elsewhere.
Stanley, are you proud? Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered
He's safe stating again.
No. You were
Okay, this
supposed
is the
to go
same
through the door
dialogue.
on the right,
I was just
leading
checking.
back- Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered.
Wait, why is my bucket missing one of the stickers? Wait a minute, what happened to the other sticker on my bucket? What happened? I'm missing a sticker. There's no longer a sticker telling me that this is in fact a bucket.
No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back. Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left. What? We're back at the phone already? No. What's going on? There was supposed to be several rooms leading up to this. There was supposed to be a build-up to this point, a dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit which culminates in this scene with the phone. But now the timing's completely off. The joke will never land, or not the way it was meant to. And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the 2 doors room. What an egregious mistake. I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of Comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp.
Oh no.
I think I need to go back and rewatch that instructional video again.
Don't make me sit through it.
Surely that will help me improve my...
Stanley, you love the house so much it's like you... it's as though all of your other most prized possessions pale in comparison.
Oh no, he's
Yes.
resorted to
Wait,
puns.
let me try that again, Stanley. I heard that you are pale with shame over how unabashedly in love with a bucket you are. No? Still not? Is it the delivery? Pale with shame. Pale with shame. Pale...
Dear God, get me out of here. Let me out.
Stanley.
Let me out.
Mental. I think I saw it playing guitar. No. We're getting away from making fun of Stanley's obsession with the bucket, which was the whole point of this. I'm no good at these jokes. I need more instructional videos. That's exactly what it is. That's what will make me the king of comedy again. More instructional videos. Let's see.
And there's never the end.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
The bucket made Stanley want to be a better man and a better co-worker. In time, perhaps, he would become both of those.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chin.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket
Yeah, the
turned out to
sticker's
be
back
correct?
now.
Was this... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the... Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top.
Bucket!
There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Water obtained. Let's go.
In here.
said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone, and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
Not much of a doorbell, is it? Well, at least it's a nicer apartment than the last one we saw. Oh, this chair doesn't actually have collision on some parts of it. This chair's collision is fucked up. Okay, now I'm inside of it. What? What is collision? And now I'm in here, sure. Maybe I should stop trying to break the game. I've become one with the phone. This is a nice little kitchenette. I mean, there's no counter space, so it's very familiar to me especially. Like, I'd have a little tiny piece of counter to do all my cooking on. It didn't work. It sucked. Ooh, a nice TV, though. Oh, it's the bucket! Hi, bucket. Should be able to get up on the kitchen counter from here. Oh, maybe not. Not quite. Okay, looks like all I can do is press the button then.
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
There's the bucket.
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me. Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
Don't listen to the loud man.
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket.
I played the
This
demo!
stupid hunk of metal.
To ignore anyone in your life except for me.
It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another. Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
I can get on top of the computer with the bucket.
Oh no. I'm having feelings. For the bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps, if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing.
Precious is.
The bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation.
Precious.
Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley.
No.
I need it. Give it to me now. Give it, or else...
The precious.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on.
Pail the pail. This pail.
Not everyone is so lucky to have a bucket, but Stanley is a very lucky fellow. Very lucky indeed.
I was kind of exhausted all the routes on the right, so I guess I need to go to the left a little bit more.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
This room's back to normal now that I have all the figurines. All 19 out of 20 of them!
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. If I did, you can guarantee we'd be in here for hours.
Yeah,
But
we went out the window with
no,
the bucket
coming to the
even.
staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Oh hey, this is open now. Why was it locked before? Well, now we can enjoy some elevator music with the bucket. I heard that! I think the narrator hit the background said something along the lines of, shit, there's no backup.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
Is he gonna get impatient with me?
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs.
No, I didn't. I
Trying
went.
to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
I'm just running around the furniture. That's not twiddling my thumbs.
2845. Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Whoop-de-doo indeed. Alright, this time we'll do the opposite of silly birds.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place.
All right, here we go.
And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Whew, that was loud.
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it.
Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth.
That's very
wanted
specific.
to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and... What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped?
Door stuck!
Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No, no, no. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
No!
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone.
It takes a lot of humility to carry a bucket so magnificent. Stanley checked his ego and then proceeded on.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Run! I'll go the escape route next.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an
It's so
emotional
laggy!
dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Here we go again!
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator.
Nice,
As
alternate
Stanley and
narrated
the
again.
bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
So we're finally back to the thing I did first before.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own
God.
way, but this one stood above the rest.
No
It was a
one!
glorious bucket to behold.
Hey, my bucket's gone. What about my bucket? The bucket welcomes you to the grand exhibit. You are standing in the precipice of knowledge. Much like a bucket itself, the human mind is frequently empty within a cavernous void. But through use of the exhibit in front of you, the mind becomes full of it, enriched and substantiated. Knowledge of the bucket and its history is the only true knowledge we really have. You take what you learn here out with you into the world. Will you accept with an open mind what may be challenging about the information in this exhibit? Will you change the lives of yourself and your loved ones as a result of this exhibit? Or will you turn a blind eye and continue to live as you were, in ignorance and darkness?
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own?
My
Can you
bucket!
see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
25 buckets. I think that's a few more than 25 buckets, I'm just saying. A photograph of 25 buckets, the greatest number of buckets ever captured on camera. The photographer experienced catatonic shock for several weeks as a result of the euphoria from exposure to this many buckets at once. A bucket with 2 handles! This bucket is depicted as having 2 handles. Such a design has never been created in real life, having been deemed too dangerous and recklessly experimental. Every year, dozens are put to death just for attempting it. Inferno Bucket! A replica of the Inferno Bucket, which in the medieval era was so powerfully alluring that it drove dozens of nations to war with one another for control of it. Billions died, and yet in spite of it all, the simple fact remains no one can control a bucket. The stress bucket, an analogy. Worrying, negative forecasting, negative thinking, lack of reassurance. Vulnerability equals size and strength of the bucket. Coping strategies equal holes. Rest and relaxation, doing something you enjoy. Rest and relaxation. The stress equals the level of water in the bucket. The stress bucket, presented without commentary. Cave drawing. Now we know that buckets predate the existence of mankind. We do not know by how long. This cave drawing depicts early man's discovery of the practical uses of the bucket, by which time the bucket had already likely been around for several millennia. Notice in these drawings how the bucket is allowing itself to be used, having judged humanity to be worthy of its treasures.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
The hanging bucket. This piece symbolizes the necessary relationship between bucket and humanity. However clear our grasp of the bucket may be, there is yet more that is always out of reach. This distance, inevitably, is for our own good. What?
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Squish. Ah, there's just one more bucket-related thing I want to check out.
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh?
Stanley cradled the bucket in a gentle embrace. Protective, yet delicate. Assertive.
Can I actually put the bucket into the bucket destroyer? Let's find out.
To his this was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door. Oh, good, Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they'd never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Whee! Go, go, go!
Line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well. Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley's addicted to drugs and booze.
It's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up. Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket
All right,
Destroyer.
now is it actually going to let me throw it in here? That is the ultimate
I
question.
think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me, it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
It won't let me! It won't let me! Come on, get in there!
It's crucial that you give it the bucket.
Get in there!
I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it
won't
can't
let
destroy
me.
your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters?
I can't get any
Well, you see,
closer!
if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance
I
that
can't
it's
jump!
really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket
All he
Destroyer
does is hug
getting
the
very
bucket!
upset now. You'll
He
have to
only
hurry
hugs
and
the bucket, he won't
we can't
listen!
get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now!
Get in
the fans
there!
are waiting. Do it, the fans,
Get in
Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Alas, Stanley refused to listen to my commands. And thus, we were not allowed to destroy the bucket.
The Bucket Destroyer. My prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
I can't actually think of more things to do. What happens if I just keep beginning the game over and over again? Maybe a few more times just to make sure, because this feels like the type of thing the game would pull. Now I'm back in my office with the bucket, so I can't do that again. And see, so... I closed the door on myself, I went out the window and did
All of
both
his
those
co-workers were
options.
gone.
I went out the
What could it
window with the
mean?
bucket.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed
The end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end!
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Is never the end, is never the end! Is never the end, is never the end! Never the end is never the end.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
I pumped every computer in the office. I can't think of anything else to do with the bucket. I went everywhere. I mean, there is one thing I could do.
Stanley's bucket, the only co-worker he would ever truly need. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else.
Okay.
The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
The end is never the end. Well, the monitors are back to normal.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
So if I... Oh, it's not asking for input anymore. Oh, but... Ooh, hang on. Okay. Okay. So what if I...
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
None of them are asking for input this time.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
What happens if I begin the game again multiple times in a row?
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo? He could no longer recall.
These computers are consistently being the same now. Well, what happens if I just do this again?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay.
It was okay.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful. Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken. No, the orders were still missing. For now.
For now? computers are consistently the same now. What's going on?
Is Stanley, without the bucket, really Stanley at all? No. No, surely not.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go
Yeah,
to
I
the
thought I was
meeting
onto
room.
something, but now the
Perhaps he had
computers started
simply
changing
missed
it
a
all.
memo.
They're always the same.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. There was nothing here. No choice to make, no
All right.
path to follow. Just an empty broom closet.
It's interesting that he kind of reset back to the start of
Stanley
this.
walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Alright, that's another one. Let's begin anew.
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time.
Where are there more computers? I'm trying to think, it's like, where have we seen more computers? Because I know there's the control room and the mind control facility, but there's gotta be more than that.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
I don't know if I go down the
This was not
confusion
the
ending
correct way
route.
to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
It was okay.
It's okay.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
I don't think there haven't been any more computers than that. Hang on.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself, and
I walked
constantly
past
needed
this one
support and
already.
guidance from others. So the thought
Okay,
of
okay.
total solitude was...
Did I just not look at that one? I guess I just didn't look at that exact
The meeting
one
room.
screen.
Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again.
They double checking this time. What the? Okay, I know it's right there, but now the office is a completely different color. Oh God, 2 new things tempting me. I'm gonna take a look at the blue first.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Welcome to the whiteboard. Dog mode. What the hell is this?
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Alright, now at least the 2 doors again.
As Stanley lifted his bucket, he felt a connection to all buckets everywhere. This adventure, he decided, was for all of them.
Stanley clutched the bucket.
And then it just goes back to normal from there, I guess.
The door on his
Weird. Anyways. Yo, am I still in dog mode though? No. Okay. We've received the input! So many buttons! There doesn't appear to be anything else in here, it's just buttons. 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 This appears to be all it is. Okay, I can't really think of anything else though. So, chat, what's another thing that I'm missing? In general. because I'm starting to run out of things I can think of to do in this game. I'll find a way to fall through the hole in the mind control facility. Okay, we'll do that. Let's go!
All of his co-workers were... Wait, no. This isn't the right office, is it? Is this Stanley's office?
Did I miss something there? Okay, I can just go in there whenever I want.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
The end is never the end.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad
Achievement
behind
unlocked!
the boss's... Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy. So he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
No, I never played the demo.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Alright, let's go. Oh, not wide enough. Let's look for a way to fall into Affinity. We must find a way. The way to fall.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold?
Whee! There it is!
Did he have the strength to find out? Aha! You've made it to the bottom of the mind control facility. Welcome! You see, back when the Stanley Parable first launched in 2013, getting to the bottom of the mind control facility was a bug that we simply didn't catch during development. And you all sent us lots of photos of it on Twitter and acted very superior about it. And you're all very, very clever. Good for you. Anyway, when it came time to update the game, we knew that we had to do something about this little goof of ours. So here you go. New content. You can call it the bottom of the mind control room ending, if that enhances your perception of the value of these updates. Isn't that what you crave? New content? Always
Hey, Tracker Track content!
More content! More,
Hey, Tracker
more,
Track
more, more,
content!
more, more.
Hey, Tracker Track
And I'm here to
content!
give it to you. I'm here to make it seem like we really covered every nook and cranny of the game with secrets and Easter eggs. How about this? We wrote a new piece of music just for this section. You won't hear it anywhere else in the game. It's a secret that's just for you. That's how special you are. We call this track, Good job, you made it to the bottom of
It's
the
a
mind
secret.
control facility. Well done.
did it. Good job. 3, 2, 1. Good job. You made it to the bottom of the mind control facility. You jumped on the catwalk. You should have been careful. You should have been careful. It used to be a bug, but now it's an ending. Now it's an ending. I believe in you. I believe in your ability to cross this barrier and chase your dreams. Railings don't mean anything. Good job, you did it. 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 Good job, you did it.
And now, of course, we have to do that with the bucket.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a
What new mysteries lay in store for our bucket-loving heroes today? Let's find out.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more.
Too easy for him.
Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Alright, bucket, we're gonna go back down to the void again. Hopefully this isn't as traumatic as the last time this happened.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Goodbye!
Just as Stanley was about to proceed further into the Mind Control Facility, he tripped and fell over the railing and into the dark void below. Thankfully, he fell directly onto the bucket, which safely cushioned his fall. Now, what to do next, Stanley wondered. Stanley and the bucket could find no way out of this enormous pit, and so eventually they decided that the best thing to do would be to simply get comfortable down here. So they set up a little couch and relaxed. It really wasn't so bad down here.
Oh, hey!
Cold, perhaps. After some time had gone by, they installed a few shelves as well, and a sort of kitchenette that was useful for when the bucket was craving paninis. But it wasn't until the rugs and the standing lamps came in that it really started to feel like a home.
Yeah, we got a cozy
In fact,
place
after
down
some
here!
time, Stanley realized that it had been ages since he had even thought of the mind control facility at all. He'd never gotten to fully explore what was up there, never been able to unearth the many mysteries of the mind control facility. This lack of closure began to eat at him. Soon he was dwelling on his regrets, and the state of their home slowly decayed as Stanley became withdrawn and neglected the cleaning.
No, no!
It unsettled the bucket deeply. Stanley wasn't usually like this. The bucket tried to reach out to him again and again, but to no avail. All Stanley could think about, all he could talk about, was going back.
Stanley, you
doing
fool!
it over again, staying on the path. It was a mistake to leave the path. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. I need to do what the narrator says. I need to see the true ending. This made no sense at all to the bucket, which was simply trying to live its life down here as comfortably as possible. Yet Stanley was inconsolable. This isn't an ending. This is just a hole in the ground. The bucket sighed. True, it wasn't an ending.
but it's where we happen to be. And maybe, possibly, if we accept the reality of things, maybe this will become an ending eventually. It's what the bucket was counting on. The two of them waited for a very long time.
Alright, that was that one. I appreciate...
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
I appreciate that you can go back to button heaven whenever you want to at this point.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Kill surprise.
Goodness! So I noticed the up button's highlighted on the elevator when we go back down, so do I just press that and go back up? Let's find out.
Whoops. Nope. Never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
Hey, we're back! Anything over in this darkness now? No, it's still just a dark corner.
Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow! I'm bolted to the edge of my seat.
But I want to leave. But I want to leave, though. Maybe if I put it in backwards?
Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this?
Clearly I'm supposed to go back up again.
Did you think we were going to go forward down the spooky corridor? No. It's time once again to go back up in the elevator. I can't even begin to grapple with what might be up there. Is it the boss's office again? Or what if it's the boss's office this time? The suspense is killing me.
Here we go. We're going on an elevator-based journey.
Oh my God. It's the boss's office. This absolutely changes everything for me. give me a time out here for a minute while I process this.
Hey, I wasn't done!
Okay, I'm ready. I'm prepared to embrace this stunning revelation and to move forward with... No, wait.
8.
No, I need more time to process.
Oh my god!
All right, I have fully come to terms with it. I have made space in my worldview for this astonishing new reality. As before, I turn to your expert eye for gripping narrative, Master Stanley.
Alright, off we go again!
Of course, going back down in the elevator. How did I not anticipate it? I mean, sure, now it's obvious, but you have to understand that 30 seconds ago, this kind of thing had never been attempted before. I had no frame of reference to even anticipate it. That's just how revelatory Stanley's decision-making is. A breath of fresh air in a landscape of storytelling.
His patience is really eroding at this point. But when we go back up, though? Oh, he doesn't have new dialogue.
You know what? I've just thought of something. Hold on, let's stop for a moment. Don't you realize? It's the anticipation, Stanley. You and I, we have no way of knowing what will be at the top of this elevator. But the suspense, the agony of waiting and anticipating and having to guess, that's the real thrill. Oh, I simply don't want to let that feeling go. It's so precious, so fleeting. Why don't we take this elevator ride nice and slow?
How slow?
There we go. Isn't this so much more exciting? You know, Stanley, it seems like nowadays the only thing that audiences want is to be shocked as loudly and frequently as possible. They want big, explosive moments flung right in their faces from the very moment that things get started. But where's the tension? Where's the trust in the audience to build a slow and nuanced appreciation for the story, the characters? Why aren't we given time to imagine the surprises, to have to think and to anticipate, and then to marvel at the eventual reveal? This is storytelling, Stanley. What you and I are doing right now. This is the most exciting narrative to be developed in years, and it's really all because of you. You're the one who took this bold step of revisiting the exact same locations over and over. Truly, I mean it. This is unique and different. It's not like anything else out there. You see, I want stories that surprise me, Stanley. I want to have to think. I want to be engaged and not pandered to. We're being fed such unimaginative drivel all the time, and we all know it, which is why we're so starved for content that makes us feel sharp and vital and alive. That's why people like you so much, Stanley, because you're not afraid to spit in the face of tradition. You're a role model, you know? People look up to you. Which is why, oh, I didn't know when to spring this on you, but, well, I've gathered a little press conference for you.
A press
so that
conference?
You can talk about your work and your storytelling and your life. Yes, I know you're not much for the public eye, but I thought it would especially mean a lot to the people who have been following you from the beginning. They really look up to you, Stanley. I don't know if you realize the impact you have on them. This is the kind of gesture that might leave a tremendous impact on them for the better.
Oh, this is different.
Okay, the room where we're holding the press conference should be just around the corner here, so...
All eyes on Stanley, live on stage. That's healthiest human being. All tricks revealed. How we did it to the pyramids. Live, the guy who went to Mars. An evening with world peace, baby.
Ah, yes, here it is, just through this door.
Can't quite see that last one. The sun, the process, the myth, the legend, the parable. Stanley from the Stanley Parable. A Q&A with world's first sentient machine. Doing great. A conversation with Alex the Great.
All right, are you ready? I've told them you're going to speak a little bit about the nature of surprise in storytelling and what it means to craft a truly unpredictable narrative. Oh, don't worry. You'll do great. Just be yourself and speak from the heart. I'm really proud of you, Stanley. Okay, it looks like they're ready for you. Go get them.
Come on, I want to see what's on the table. Let me up! Let me up! The claw. I can't even sit in my chair. Up and down again. The Stanley story. Well, I guess we're going. Audience with the dude who came up with pizza. Hell yeah! Now that would be an interesting story. Whoa, man, the blur! The bloom! Yes, hello! I know! Oh, yes, it's me! Hello, random citizen in the back! Yes, very good! Alright, let's have a talk. Wait, this isn't right. It's a very truncated office at the moment.
Now this, Stanley thought to himself, this is a bucket.
Dear God!
It was.
No!
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps
here we
his
go.
boss's office was where he'd find. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
And now the same thing, but with a bucket in the hands.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Go, go, go! And now, go back.
Wait, Stanley said to the bucket. Can we go back up? When I was pressing those keypad buttons, there was something very intriguing about the number 3. I want to go back so I can try pressing the number 3 again. The bucket said nothing.
The number 3? Alright, we can press 3 a bunch of times.
Here we are, said Stanley. Now I'm going to try out that number 3 button. He took the bucket over to the keypad and began absolutely slamming on the number 3 over and over and over.
1.
Well, he said, the number 3 is such a special button. I'm having the time of my life. Stanley looked expectantly at the bucket, but the bucket remained silent. This was a shock to Stanley, who had always felt such a connection with the bucket. How was this not as exciting to the bucket as it was to him? Once Stanley had had enough of the number 3, he got back in the elevator.
Eight.
And back down we go.
Perhaps the bucket had missed something. Perhaps it had not seen how much joy Stanley got from slamming the number 3 repeatedly.
And back up.
No, said Stanley to the bucket. You can't go on yet. Not till you understand how much the number 3 means to me. You and I have been through so much together, and I just want you to see what I see. Feel the happiness I feel. He smiled at the bucket, and the bucket said nothing.
More 3s. Clearly, this bucket is an employee of Valve.
Here we go, said Stanley. This time I'll really show you. He ran to the number 3 and began to wail on it like a musician on a beloved instrument, weaving a concerto of truth and passion. He wielded the number 3 like a fine artist would wield a paintbrush. He told stories through the number 3, stories of his dreams and hopes and fears, and the whole time he looked to his bucket for a reaction of some kind. Anything to let him know that the bucket appreciated what he was doing. The bucket conveyed absolutely nothing at all, only silence. Crushed by a wave of dejection, Stanley returned to the elevator.
Eight.
Yes.
Stanley and the bucket were so close. They'd always been there for one another. Why suddenly could the bucket not connect with this passion of Stanley's? The question caused Stanley to ruminate the whole way down the elevator. He knew that there must be a way to get through to the bucket, to communicate fully with his dear friend. Surely there was a solution, mustn't there be?
What, the 8? No, the game's playing that.
Said Stanley. I know what to do. I know how to fully express this feeling in my heart. He decided right then and there that he would hold a press conference.
No, we're going back to the press
speak
conference.
to the public on all matters relating to pressing the number 3 over and over. He would elaborate fully on what the number 3 meant to him and why he felt so alive when pressing it. Then the bucket would be able to see his joy through the eyes of others. It would get to see the world react to this discovery of Stanley's. And it would be through the public eye that the bucket would finally understand Stanley's work. For months, he advertised and marketed his press conference, building excitement around it, developing and rehearsing it, until it couldn't be refined a single measure further. When the big day arrived, Stanley was as prepared as he'd ever been for anything in his life.
Shh, don't let Gabe see this.
This was it. One last chance to win the bucket over. One opportunity to share a true connection with a loved one.
3 again. 3 again. They threw out the old book.
There was no one here. Nobody had come to the press conference to hear Stanley speak, to listen to him talk about what it really means to press the number 3 on a keypad over and over. He was unloved, uninteresting, he was a failure, and in that moment Stanley knew that the bucket would never again take him seriously. There would be no connection, no deeper understanding. The bucket merely sat there in his arms, indifferent. And so it began that slowly, over many years, the two of them grew more and more distant. They spoke less and less, neither wishing to state the obvious, that any sense of real respect between them had eroded since that day at the press conference. There would be no more games, no more long conversations about passion and pursuit, only a silence that consumed the space between friends. And Stanley, having for once in his life discovered the warmth and comfort of true companionship, was cast back into the unremarkable normalcy of loneliness.
The end is never the end. Alright, so is that everything now?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley
I
decided
already
to
did
go
the final
to the
input.
meeting room.
It takes me to
Perhaps
button
he had
heaven.
simply missed a memo.
Disco secret? Hell yeah! Where's the disco secret?
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
I can't go back into my office with the bucket, so I can't go to button heaven with the bucket. Ooh, that's very specific. All right, let's go.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Wait, it's just open. Oh, that's weird.
Here's the door, just go.
Hey, come on! Come on!
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
I mean, I just gotta wait at least a minute, right? Oh, I gotta press all 3 buttons, okay.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
I can't get back to the lights button, though. There it goes. Yeah! Never give up your dreams! Secrets mode engaged! Secrets June 2014! Woo! Don't touch the secrets! You never go secret! High resolution screen texture! Disco secrets! Faithfully reported secrets 2022! Secrets all the way! There's no turning back! Never give up on your dreams! Once you go secret, Broom hides the best secrets. Secret bros! I guess that's all there is to it. The music fade out.
Aha!
Hi, Stanley. Just wanted to leave you a message to let you know there's a few things I need you to pick up on your way home from work today. We need milk, cereal, dish soap, spaghetti, get a thing of sugar, some bread, and coffee beans, whichever ones you like. I'll give you a call if there's anything I forgot. Thanks, sweetie. See you tonight.
Yeah, I already saw the falling to the bottom ending, so...
I'm a loser.
Finally, yes, the bucket. Yes, yes, yes. I love that bucket.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial...
Hey, we're in the... we're in fun heaven with the bucket. I mean, at this point, I'm just trying to get the last remaining things, because we're basically done.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I mean, I can't even get back to the new content section.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
So, like, how do I go back? Because, I mean, I could come back this way, but the door's locked. Money in the morning, money in the evening, money for breakfast, money crisp. It's like several commercials all gathered together. Because I don't see a way to leave the boss's office. I'm locked in here. Okay, so I almost got it before, but I got stuck on the door. Understood.
Here's the door. Just
God!
go.
Hello. This is a recorded message scheduled either by you or a person in your place of work. The purpose of this message is to warn you about the dangers of recorded messages. If at any time you believe you are listening to a recorded message, please terminate it immediately and cease all flow of information from the recorded message into your perceptual sphere. Thank you, and have a pleasant day.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Let's try this again.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Here's the door.
Okay, there. Wait a minute! Falling into personal conflict. Okay, this is the same. Oh, there's a new door over here. You are now leaving. So eerily quiet. Alright, so there should be something on the next floor. Escape! Escape! Wait, is that it? Just silence and an escape pod?
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped...
One man, one bucket, one chance to seize their destiny together.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Big thing is just getting through this damn door check again.
Stepping...
There we go. You really don't get much leeway on that. Hey, my office is closed this time. Yeah, I guess he gets stuck in there. Oh well, up the stairs we go. See if there's anything else in here with the bucket. Where the hell even is the epilogue? Where'd they sneak that shit? On the main menu, okay. Hey, yeah, needless to say, I'm not playing the stupid baby game for 4 hours. I didn't even press the button once on that. Hey, it's actually doing something this time. We saved our bucket. Godspeed, you piece of metal. What the hell? I think the copying machine went a little out of control, guys.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the... No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
That's, oh, hey, some Z fighting. This game's been good about that for the most part, but here's some Z fighting right here. Head over there. Wait, the buckets. Gone. Oh, appropriate that we did that one last, I guess.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop
God,
by
there's
the
still just
employee lounge
surveys
first,
everywhere.
just to admire it. It was okay.
Even in the employee lounge, there's still just more of them scattered about.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Yeah, we did the window already. Alright,
Yet
let's
there
go
was
ahead
not
and
a
load up the
single
epilogue
person
then.
here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his...
And there it is. An actual epilogue. Oh, sure, it's this ending that it falls through on. Yeah, it is 4 hours! It is essentially Desert Bus, except with the sound of babies crying. Oh my god! What is this hellscape? It's the memory zone! All the way out here! Wait, but what's that in the distance? Wait, that's the escape pod! Bucket? Are you okay? You're okay! We made it out. At long last we have been reunited! This is a glorious day! Well, the memory zone still has electricity. This place has seen better days. The whole place just covered in sand and desolation, and places I'm clearly not supposed to be, but that's fine. I can get back out, right? Okay, good. Let's not break the epilogue while we're out here. Cookie Nights, fuck! Like so many, I enjoyed my time with the original Stanley Parable, which underscores how truly disappointed I am with its sequel. Where the first game teamed with originality, the Stanley Parable 2 is dull, uninspired, and often insulting to its fan base. Rather than expand on what made the first game enjoyable, the sequel veers off into territory nobody asked for. An infinitely deep hole? Who cares? Where are the new endings? What about enjoyable bits from the Stanley Parable 1, like the adventure line? Instead, we get an uninspired side quest collecting figurines. Even this diversion feels incomplete. Collecting all the figurines gives you nothing. I must say, I found the bucket to be a quite comforting, a welcome reprieve from... Well, thankfully I have this here bucket. It's your fault, Cookie 9. It's your fault! This is why we have the skip button! It's what brought about this desolate wasteland of a future. Stanley Parable developers, no more spin-offs, no more sequels. And the Stanley Parable launched to a massive success in 2013. Its creators made plans to build the property into an entire franchise, but disastrous critical and commercial reception to the Stanley Parable 2 has prompted the developers to rethink their ambitions, as outlined in a press release they published today. It's clear that no more Stanley Parable is just not what the fans want. Raised the press release. We thought that we had a vision for the series that players would be excited about, yet it turns out this could not have been farther from the truth. The press release goes on to promise to preserve the artistic integrity of the original game, and to stop assaulting fans with our reckless and insulting creative visions. The word sorry appears more than 25 times in the press release. Lowest aggregates review scores in video game history is second. Oh, I got 4 buttons here! It's like an accuracy or precision. It's hard. It's hard to do that fast. Maybe this one's easier. No, it's not. What's this? It's just a little picture of something I don't understand. Sorry to anybody named Jim. There's just so many Jim buttons. Oh my god, my collection, it's going to grow! Even larger. 20! 21! 22! 23! 24, 25, 26, 27 figurines out of 6! Hello again. It's nice to see you. But it's terrible to learn that there will never be another Stanley Parable game. Did you read what the developers said? Preserve the integrity of the franchise? What nonsense! The Stanley Parable is not scared. We do not need to protect it. I mean, not sacred, excuse me. Screw the legacy! Let's keep making Stanley Parable games until the sun explodes! Let's run this franchise into the ground. Let's drag it through the mud and back! If people hate it, who cares? You see, that was the narrator's problem. He was so obsessed with what people thought of his work. Don't make his mistake. Don't cling to the legacy. Let it burn! It's not hard. In fact, let me show you. Together, we're going to make the Stanley Parable 3. It's simple. All we do is change the number in the game's title screen. We also really need a really dumb subtitle for the game. Something loud and gaudy. Go ahead, try combining some random words together to make a title for our new game. Oh, let's see. It's either me or the didgeridoo! Wait. You know what? Sure. That works. It's either me or the didgeridoo. Hang on a second. This seems about, necessary for this type of title. Oh, I only get 2 choices, okay. It's either me or the didgeridoo. The Stanley Parable 3, it's either me or the didgeridoo. It's absurd, I love it. Every time we restart the game, we'll advance the number of the sequel by 1, and then we'll pick a new subtitle. That way the Stanley Parable would never end. And nothing in the game itself will change when you do this either. Adding more content sounds like work, no need to do that. It'll just be the same content, recycled again, and again, and again, with a new title screen. What do you say? Should we go forward with this plan? I like it, but I want you to have the say as well. Let's do it. Good, then it's agreed. A new sequel every time you start the game. And you know what? Since you put faith in my idea, I feel like giving you something as well. You see, I'm noticing that the narrator's never found a way to give you the broken achievement, did he? Of course not. I wouldn't expect him to know how. It's been bothering me. Let's fix it. Alright there. The achievement machine is all fixed. You see, I'm on your side. We're in this together. We're going to keep this train rolling. The Stanley Parable cannot end. It can only spiral in and of in on itself forever. I must keep the wheel turning. I'm ready. Are you ready? Great. There's only one last thing we need to do. There we go. That is the bucket driving! Oh my god. Bucket, where did you even get that? Nice donuts! Well, that was the Stanley Parable. It's certainly quite the thing. But wait. If I can get the sequel content... Hang on. I feel like there's one last thing. How am I gonna get the sequel to show up again? Because I want to get over to the new content section.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had
replacement bucket!
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that.
But that
legacy.
bucket is blasphemous!
So forget this
It's a clear
ultra deluxe
imposter!
nonsense.
It's not my
I
bucket!
say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. Here we are. Go on. Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on...
I'm gonna finally change it over to the ones I wanted in the first place!
Happy 12th birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday,
Yes!
step niece, it is.
I finally righted a wrong!
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on. Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that.
Ah! There it is!
As you can see, the machine is not working yet since... What? Wait. What in the holy hell is going on? You got the achievement? Why did the machine work? Stanley, I didn't fix it. I didn't do anything to it. I swear, it was broken just a second ago. Who fixed it? Is someone here? Are we being watched? Oh, God. Composure? Composure.
Yes!
Yes,
It's
as you can
mine!
see, the machine
It's
is working
mine!
now, as I intended. It truly speaks to the awe-inspiring magic of the Stanley Parable 2. Breathe. Just breathe.
Well, there we go. The last thing I want to check. Is there yet another set of figurines available?
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
No! I mean, I still have one more achievement than I'm supposed to ever have. I mean, figurine that I'm ever supposed to have anyways. So there we go! We have gotten our ultimate reward! The test achievement! Please ignore. I mean, you still have to not play the game for 5 years to get all the achievements anyways, unless you just change the time on your computer. That's the easy way. I mean, the infinite hole is just gonna do the same thing it did last time, I would imagine. I mean, we could fall in the hole again for old time's sakes, I guess.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video game. You see? Isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things. Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on.
There's no more moving on, narrator. We're done. Alright, so that was the Stanley Parable and all of its other remaining stuff. Thank you for the help getting the last couple of things, because, I mean, I wouldn't have found that stuff. It's a bunch of secret nonsense. Especially, like, leaving the boss's office, since that's actually kind of hard. Just getting the door to trigger in such a way that you can slip back out. That's okay, I don't want to touch the fake bucket. No! That was fun. It's a bit of a strange journey. I don't know how often I'd want to play something like that, but, you know, it was enjoyable. I'm glad I got to see all the different stuff. But for now, I believe that's going to do it. I am going to get some pizza, because that's what I'm in the mood for.